Hi friends, and welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan Abair, and this is where I share my insights. And today I'm talking about getting to know the unfamiliar, which is another way of explaining trust. And what does it mean to get to know the unfamiliar? If we're evolving creatures, it means that every day we're something new, and there's a way to approach that and be comfortable with it. Stick around and I'll unpack that. I happen to be a supporter of scientific knowledge. And I do not believe that evolution is incongruent with the spiritual life. I believe that we are evolving both externally and internally. There is an awakening of the spirit, which means that the spirit is also process-oriented. That is not to say that there is a lack of constancy in the universe. I believe that we are both evolving and constant. And if you understand duality, you know that the universe is relative, meaning that there is no motion in the universe without there being some stillness upon which that motion moves. But both of those ideas are contained as one. So one of the things that you will begin to accept about yourself is that you are an evolving creature. It's easy to talk about this by way of the physical form. I used to have a head of hair. I looked nothing like I did 40 years ago. That body that I used to occupy at age 15 is completely gone. There is no more adolescent body. And yeah, that's easy to understand, but there is no solid, identifiable inside either. There's an invisibility about being a human. There is something that lies outside of time and space that is part of our DNA. And this is the kind of stuff that's hard to point to because there's no evidence of it. Because if the body is the evidence of me, then the body is disappearing. There is no me. Yet, what makes this funny is that I can recognize reality. If you think about what makes reality recognizable, it's the observer. It is the relationship between the observer and the observed, and that the two things are completely dependent upon one another and that they are one. And today, I'm not talking about duality necessarily. I'm talking about how you are unfamiliar to yourself. That's so strange for people. I used to think I knew myself. But think about it. Your tastes change. Your preferences change. Your ideas change. Even sometimes people's total outward appearance changes. They glow up, They have these transformations where they lose a bunch of weight or go through these transformations. So the universe seems to be a process moving from, sometimes in the Bible it says from glory to glory. Paul used language like be transformed by the renewal of your mind. You're getting new ideas. You're getting new inspirations. Things you didn't expect that you would do. So we surprise ourselves. We learn about ourselves. And it's hard to point to what is learning and what ourselves is. If I'm learning to love myself. Who is doing that? Who is the lover and who's being loved? It's hard to talk about duality and to know yourself as a singularity. And you are both. You are physical form and you are invisible. You are both time and timeless. You are both temporal and eternal. And that sense of otherness, me and myself, it's hard to pull that apart and become singular without vanishing, without totally disappearing or stop talking. But there are ways to not fear things about yourself you don't know. There will become a point in your life where you will recognize that there is only one source. And it's you. You are the epicenter, that one and only source. So fear, if you're afraid of something, fear is coming from you, even if it appears as though it's out there. See, science has a very difficult job of explaining if reality is objective, because it comes in through the senses. The outside world comes in through the eyes, through the ears, through the smell, through the touch. So that makes it subjective already. That means that the so-called outside world is being produced in the brain. So it's very difficult for us to get out of the brain and to see reality as it is. So we paint it subjectively. So there's a funny relationship between subject and object. I'm always arguing that we are the subject, and the subject is hard to point to because the subject is everything. So you begin to pick up on the truth that you are an evolving being. You learn new things of yourself. And that scares people, to think that they can't get a handle on themselves. That there's a freshness to who they are every single day. New things come in. New insights, new understanding, new inspirations. So the way I like to think of it is that I'm a stranger to myself, but I'm not afraid of that stranger. You see? Most of us are afraid of what we don't know. But what we don't know is also us. And I don't know how to point to that, other than looking at the universe and saying, okay, the universe is expanding, but it's expanding into more universe. So you are expanding, and you are expanding into more universe. So the unfamiliar is familiar in something called trust. It's a kind of knowledge that what you don't know about yourself is cool. So the issue I always had was I thought I knew myself. I thought I knew what I would be doing. I never in a million years, to be honest with you, thought I would be on YouTube talking about this shit. And it seems like gobbledygook. I'm not exactly sure what I'm talking about. But I just know that I love doing it, and I didn't know I loved doing that. So I gave up an entire life in academics and music, and I totally gave it up. Didn't know that was coming. That was a complete shock to me. So the character, Ryan, did this thing that surprised me. I don't know how those two things are different. I'm the same. I surprised myself. So I am a stranger to myself. But you begin to pick up on this and you stop becoming paranoid about what you don't know, and you learn to lean into that because that's where you're going. You're expanding into the unknown, which is just you. And that means that includes your environment. If you really pay attention to what the word I feels like when you say I and then you continue on, that sensation of I for a lot of people is right behind the eyeballs in this little vault in the head that's often confusing. You say, I'm of two minds about this situation. Or we vacillate between decisions. Or we're considering the options. All of that language implies vibration. Doom, 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 doom. Two minds moving around, considering, vacillating, moving. And so when that vibration is occurring in the skull and that running around and in constant movement, what appears as one begins to look like two. So it looks like if I moved it fast enough, it looks like I have a bunch of hands. So the mind is vibrating, like if I don't have a pencil with me, but if I were to hold a pencil in front of your eyes, the illusion of two appears. Because the mind is just shifting and shifting and shifting and shifting and moving. It doesn't give you enough chance to really... So the mind stops vibrating with all this clutter, giving you the appearance of voices in your head, all these things, which is fear. The source of fear is you. It's paranoia. All fear is paranoia. That's what I've discovered. I was scaring myself. Falsely thinking other people were untrustworthy. But I couldn't trust myself. It's like I can't trust myself around potato chips. What the hell do potato chips? Why are they so powerful? Potato chips are inanimate. The thing is, we put potato chips as a thing. Like, if you're like me, I can't eat one Pringle. I can't eat one Girl Scout cookie. I have to eat the whole damn thing. Because, essentially, I've put eyes on the Girl Scout cookie box. I put a voice on it that says, "Come and eat me." I've given it life. I've given the Girl Scout cookies power over me. They don't have that way anymore. If you put a bunch of Girl Scout cookies in my kitchen, I wouldn't. Well, maybe. But that doesn't have the power over me. It's me projecting onto it a power because I didn't pause. So the mind is doing this, creating all of this. It's like, sinister forces in the universe, all these dark and dangerous things. And then your mind just, the duality stops. And you pause to consider your choices and you realize, I don't have a choice. The compulsive mind frees you. It stops vibrating, shaking you, trembling, scared. Everybody's trembling and they're seeing all these things. And then one day you stop trembling. You start gravitating towards the silence and the root of being, and you become singular. So the sensation of two or otherness is created by vibration. And you quit trembling. You quit scaring yourself. And all of a sudden, everything that looked like multiplicity becomes complete. And that's really at the heart of spiritual teaching. It's trying to teach you how to relax. You don't know the future because the future isn't real. What's real is hard to point to. But you, as an individual, are evolving. over something that is unchangeable. That's really who you are. The I is just absolutely unchangeable. But it embodies all of these outer and spiritual evolutionary kind of things going on. Your inner character will change. Your preferences, your desires, people you love, things you used to love, things you used to do, that will change. But in all of that evolving stuff, those are still outward identities. Alan Watts described it once as, if you think about a rope, that's part of it is nylon, part of it is wool, part of it is cotton, and you tie a knot in it. And you move the knot over the rope. That you will see your outward identity change, but there's something about the knot. The knot stays the same. You're the knot, and we're all the knot that's changing as you move the knot over the various materials. So there's something inside. But even the inside feels like it changes. Your spirit, your desires, your preferences. But those are still outward markers to an invisibility that is absolutely constant. See, this is hard to describe. So the way I do it is I just recognize every day I'm different in a physical way. And so I approach the stranger with respect. Okay, I do not know what I'm going to do next. I do not know myself in the future. That's not even real. I just know myself now. But I'm open to what I'm going to learn about myself because I know that whatever I learn is me. So I trust myself around Pringles and Girl Scout cookies. See, trust begins at home. Me. I got to trust this guy. If I don't trust this guy, I can't trust that guy. You can't say to yourself, I trust myself, but everybody else is a nincompoop, crazy people. You are projecting craziness onto people because you do not trust the unfamiliar parts of yourself. So one of the things about the golden rule is that it applies not only to love, but to trust and faith, which are very similar. It says, love your neighbor as yourself. Trust your neighbor as yourself. Have faith in your neighbor as yourself. Yes, even the crazy people, the so-called crazy people. And yes, even your enemies, the so-called enemies. You can't label the I, which is what everybody is. There's a neutrality to it. So trusting yourself is knowing that you're going to be okay. You can do it. You will do it. You're providing for yourself. You don't have to set all these alarms. You don't trust to wake yourself up. You don't trust yourself to pay back debt. You don't trust yourself to make a commitment. How are you going to trust anybody else? That means you don't love yourself in the real way. You're trying to love concepts of yourself that keep letting you down. See, it's in the same way that we love concepts of God. God is so good. Oh, God is so good. Until he does something shitty. And it looks like God changes. But it doesn't. You realize that you're not a free, independent roaming agent. You have no free will. There's no independent mind, independent consciousness, independent ideas. You see? And so people say, well, it's just not God's will. Don't get me started about God's will. Read my blog today. It's like God can't even will God's self for God's will to be done all the time. So what does he do? Spread the will around, and sometimes some people get God's will, and some people, God just doesn't know how to keep control over his will. You see? He spreads the will around. So what about all the other gods? What if they want a chance to have the will? Nobody has an individual will. And what appears as a free will is kind of an illusion, so you play along. It feels like I'm choosing to speak to you right now. But ultimately, there is no choice. And I've touched on all kind of interesting things. But you must understand something. Approach the stranger the part of you that feels unfamiliar, approach that with dignity. Be open to yourself. When it's time to go to do something, serve yourself that way. Serve the inner sage that's going to be guiding you. That's you. You don't know what the inner sage is going to do next, but you respect it. And you respect that, when you meet somebody for the first time, there's a certain distance that you keep from them. And then when you become familiar with people, you get all in their face, and then you get all possessive over them, and then they do something that surprises you. Keep the respect, especially those of you who've been in partnerships for a long time. You've got a concept of your partner which is not right. They are new and evolving every single day. And we respect that in the same way that we wouldn't be so invasive with somebody we're meeting for the first time. You're meeting yourself for the first time every single moment. It's fresh. And that freshness can't be known in concept. It's known in openness called trust. And you apply that to everybody. Dignity, space, respect. And then the unfamiliar takes on a very different characteristic. You look forward to it. You look forward to trusting in people you used to think were stupid. You look forward to trusting in yourself because you were so paranoid all the time. That paranoia goes away. And you realize it's all working for you, with you. It conspires once you start trusting. It unlocks all kind of ease. But it's about dignity and respect for what remains unfamiliar, but not scary. I hope that was helpful. We've got to stop scaring ourselves and get some dignity to the freshness, the evolution, the newness that's always present and that we can't ever dominate, get ahead of, or identify. But that is essentially who we are. My name is Ryan Hebert. I hope you enjoyed these insights. Please check out my blog. It's called MyMorningMotivator.com. And we'll see you next time.